The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm orange glow over the small town of Maplewood as its residents gathered for the annual memorial of Emma Lawson, the young girl whose abduction had forever changed their lives. The mood was somber. Ribbons tied around trees and lampposts fluttered gently in the breeze, serving as reminders of a childhood cut tragically short. Sophie stood among the crowd, her heart heavy with grief that felt as fresh as the day Emma had vanished. She exchanged uneasy glances with her childhood friends, Mia, Jake, and Alex, who formed a small circle around her, visibly struggling to suppress their emotions. They had sworn a pact long ago to protect each other's darkest secrets, but that promise loomed larger than ever on such a haunted anniversary. As the mayor spoke, recounting Emma's bubbly spirit and the traces of her laughter still echoing in the town's heart, Sophie felt a lump in her throat. Memories of Emma flooded back, her bright smile, the way her laughter could light up any room. She exchanged uneasy glances with her childhood friends, Mia, Jake, and Alex, who formed a small circle around her, visibly struggling to suppress their emotions. They had sworn a pact long ago to protect each other's darkest secrets, but that promise loomed larger than ever on such a haunted anniversary. As the mayor spoke, recounting Emma's bubbly spirit and the traces of her laughter still echoing in the town's heart, Sophie felt a lump in her throat. Memories of Emma flooded back, her bright smile, the way her laughter could light up any room. The day after the memorial, a grey sky loomed over Maplewood, mirroring Sophie's mood as she walked to her mailbox. She felt the weight of yesterday's emotions pressing down on her, like a physical force. As she rifled through the usual bills and flyers, her fingers brushed against a plain envelope sealed with no return address. A chill ran down her spine at the sight. Without hesitation, she tore it open, her heart racing as she read the single piece of paper inside. The words were typed, cold and devoid of any warmth. "I know what you did. Keep the secret, or everyone will find out." Sophie's breath caught in her throat. The message struck her like a blow, a reminder of her childhood pact with Mia, Jake, and Alex. Those shared secrets were buried deep and had become a necessary weight. Panic and dread swirled inside her. Suddenly, every moment they spent together felt tainted. Every laugh turned into a possible giveaway of their hidden truths. Immediately, she called Mia. "You need to come over. Now," she urged. "What's wrong?" Mia's voice was laced with concern on the other end. "It's about the letter," Sophie replied, her voice trembling. They agreed to meet at Sophie's house, knowing that the shadows of their past had returned to haunt them. As she hung up, Sophie couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if the words from the letter had summoned a ghost from their shared history. The kitchen was dimly lit as Sophie paced nervously, wiping her clammy hands on her jeans. The scent of coffee lingered in the air, a familiar comfort in a moment so fraught with tension. When the doorbell rang, she jumped, her heart racing as she opened the door to find Mia standing there, pale and wide-eyed. "I got your message." "What's going on?" Mia asked, stepping inside and shutting the door behind her. Sophie handed her the letter, watching as Mia's expression shifted from confusion to horror. "Who would do this?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "I don't know, but we need to tell Jake and Alex," Sophie replied urgently. 15 minutes later, the three friends gathered in the living room, the air thick with apprehension. Jake, arms crossed, wore an expression of skepticism. "A letter? Are you sure it's not a prank?" "This isn't a joke, Jake," Sophie exclaimed, her frustration bubbling. "If someone knows what happened, we need to face it together." Alex paced back and forth, running a hand through his hair. "We made that pact for a reason, and now it feels like everything is crashing down around us," he said. "What do we do?" Mia's voice quivered with uncertainty. Sophie took a deep breath, determined to regain control. "We confront this. We cannot let fear keep us silent. Let's meet tonight and figure out how we're going to protect ourselves and each other." As they all exchanged glances, the weight of their shared secret wove an invisible thread between them, binding them closer while simultaneously fraying their bonds. As night fell over Maplewood, Sophie gathered her friends at their childhood hangout, an old, creaky treehouse that still stood in the backyard of her parents' house. The worn wooden planks creaked beneath their weight as they settled inside, their faces illuminated by the fading light of dusk filtering through the small windows. Flashes of nostalgia flared against the omnipresent darkness. Sophie looked around at her friends and felt a pang of longing for simpler times. "Do you remember the night Emma disappeared?" she asked, her voice heavy with the memories they had all tried to bury. Mia nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and guilt. "It was supposed to be just another night of fun. How could we have known?" Jake, always the one reluctant to dwell on the past, cut her off. "Those memories are too painful. We should focus on the letter and who could be threatening us." "But that night is crucial," Sophie pressed. "We can't ignore it." With a deep breath, she began to recount the night of Emma's disappearance, recounting every detail that haunted her, the laughter, the games, and how they had all wandered off to play hide and seek, leaving Emma alone for just a moment. The way Emma's laughter echoed in the cool night air felt like a ghost whispering in her ears, reminding her of the pact they'd made as children to stay silent. One by one, they shared their memories, their stories weaving together in unsettling ways. Each friend revealed small glimpses of guilt, whispers of suspicions that hinted at something darker. Alex's voice trembled as he recalled seeing a shadow lurking near the edge of the woods that evening. "I thought it was just my imagination," he admitted, lowering his gaze. "But now I'm not so sure." As the memories resurfaced, so did their fears. The old treehouse felt less like a sanctuary and more like a cage, the walls closing in as they faced the haunting truth of their shared past. The days following their gathering at the treehouse blurred into a whirlwind of anxious thoughts and restless nights. Each member of the group found themselves plagued by strange occurrences that seemed to mirror their growing paranoia. On the second night after the treehouse meeting, Mia received a phone call while sitting alone at home. The line was static-filled and eerily silent, sending an uncomfortable chill down her spine. "Hello," she called out, but the only response was a heart-stopping whisper of her name, echoing faintly before the line suddenly went dead. Shaken, she dropped her phone, feeling as though the shadows in her room had grown darker. Meanwhile, Jake rummaged through old photos at his house, hoping to find clarity. His fingers brushed against a faded image of their younger selves, a casual backyard gathering. But when he turned the photo over, his blood ran cold. Scribbled in dark ink were the words, "Keep the secret," along with a crude drawing of a girl with a sad smile resembling Emma. He felt the room spin, realization hitting that someone was intentionally tormenting them. Later that night, Alex found himself tossing and turning in his sleep, grappling with nightmares of Emma. He awoke in a sweat, seeing a glimpse of a figure that resembled her standing at the foot of his bed, a fleeting apparition that vanished as he blinked. The visions left him shaken, echoes of laughter mingling with darkness swirling in his mind. As the friends reunited, they exchanged their experiences, understanding that fear was no longer just a phantom of their memories. It had taken a tangible form in their reality. The invisible thread binding their secrets was beginning to unravel, and they had to confront their demons before it was too late. Fueled by the unsettling experiences that had plagued them all week, Sophie insisted they meet one last time at the treehouse. As she made her way there, a sense of dread settled in her stomach, but she knew they had to confront their fears together. Jake and Mia arrived first, their expressions reflecting the constant anxiety that had become their new normal. Alex was late, and as Sophie scanned the edge of the woods, she felt a creeping sense of foreboding. They had spent too many years burying the past, and now it was clawing its way back to the surface. When Alex finally appeared, his face pale and drawn, Sophie wasted no time. We need to talk about everything. This letter, those occurrences, and most importantly, what happened to Emma, she urged, her voice trembling with urgency. Look, I know we're all scared, but there's no point in dragging up the past, Jake retorted, crossing his arms defensively. It won't change what happened, but it might help us understand what's happening now. Sophie shot back, her frustrations boiling over. Mia watched the exchange, glancing back towards the woods, as if sensing they were not alone. The tension reached a boiling point when Sophie pulled out a paper and recited the contents of the letter aloud, revealing once again the threat hanging over their heads. Someone knows about our pact, and they won't stop until the truth comes out. With the weight of their shared guilt and fear hanging in the air, the friendly banter that once colored their conversations gave way to accusation and doubt. Old wounds burst open, and each friend began pointing fingers, revealing deeper insecurities and hidden grudges. The fragile bonds of their friendship teetered on the edge of collapse. Then, just as Sophie felt the situation spiraling out of control, the rustle of leaves caught their attention. The eerie silence was broken, and they all turned to spot a shadow moving amongst the trees, a fleeting figure that seemed to vanish as quickly as it had appeared. In that moment, they knew they were not alone. The spectres of their past were finally coming to collect. The shadow in the trees sent shivers racing down Sophie's spine. Instinctively, she took a step back, her friends mirroring her movements as fear rippled through the group. "What was that?" Mia whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "I don't know, but we need to find out," Sophie said, her voice steadying. Despite the overwhelming dread, she felt a surge of determination. Their secrets were threatening to surface, and they had to take control. "We can't let ourselves be victims anymore." They decided to leave the treehouse and head to the local library, where they hoped to piece together details about Emma's disappearance. As they scoured old newspaper articles and police reports, the atmosphere in the room turned serious and focused. Sophie's heart raced as she read through the headlines that chronicled Emma's case. Piecing together the fragments of their childhood memories with the cold, hard facts of the investigation led Sophie to see inconsistencies. The timeline didn't add up. "Look at this," she said, pointing to an article that mentioned a sighting of Emma near the woods just before she vanished. "We were playing hide and seek. Were we close to where she went?" Mia frowned, her brow furrowing. "Wait, what if someone was out there, watching us? That shadow we saw earlier. If the rumors are true, someone may still be watching," Alex added ominously. "But who? And why?" Their past began to unfold like a shocking puzzle, and the realization that someone else had been lurking in the shadows on that fateful night grew heavier, forging a bond of urgency among them. They needed answers before it was too late. As the clock ticked ominously in the library, the air grew thick with an overwhelming sense of urgency and dread. Sophie felt the pressure mounting as she picked up a pen and jotted down the key points from their investigation. They were so close to uncovering the truth, but the fear of what they might find chilled her to the bone. "This doesn't just affect us anymore. This concerns the entire town," Sophie declared, glancing at her friends. "If someone is really threatening us, we can't stay silent. But we have to do this together." Jake shifted uncomfortably in his seat before finally speaking up. "You mean breaking our pact? We promised to protect each other, no matter what. But what if revealing the truth makes it worse?" "Staying silent is not an option anymore," Mia replied, her voice firm but laced with fear. "We have to tell the police everything or risk losing control over our lives." Sophie took a deep breath, feeling the gravity of their situation. "Then let's make a new pact. We vow to confront whatever is haunting us, and we do it together, no turning back." The others nodded, a solemn resolve spreading amongst them. They each shared their fears and recommitted to supporting one another, forging a new bond through their shared determination. As they exited the library, darkness engulfed the streets, and a sense of finality settled in. The time for hiding had passed. They were ready to face the truth and whatever lay ahead. The mystery of Emma was about to demand its reckoning. With their new pact forged, Sophie, Mia, Jake, and Alex made their way to the police station, the chill of the night air biting at their skin. Their hearts raced as they approached the entrance, shadows lengthening and curling around them like the fears they had let fester for too long. Inside, they were greeted by Officer Daniels, a kind but weary man who had dedicated years to Emma's case. When they revealed their intentions to share everything, his expression shifted from confusion to concern. "You need to be certain about this," he warned. "The past can bring consequences." But the friends were resolute, ready to confront their demons. As they sat down with Officer Daniels, they recounted the events surrounding Emma's disappearance, revealing the details they had kept hidden for so long. They explained their original pact and how it had twisted into a chain holding them hostage to their secrets. As they spoke, the officer's expression grew serious. "We need to investigate any potential leads," he said, noting their recollections of the shadow lurking in the woods.